there, and welcome back to Penny Saves Paldea, where I take the fails of Scarlet and Violet and turn them into a generous dose of copium-laced fanfiction. This week, we're looking at Arven's plotline, The Path of Legends, including the end of it, so spoilers will abound. First up is a logic fail, help from out of nowhere. One of the quests in Path of Legends is the Open Sky Titan, a giant bird that's hurling boulders down a cliff. You dodge and weave up to them and then battle the Titan at the top. Once you defeat it, Arven appears beside you, claiming he ran up while the Titan was distracted. Yeah, sure, dude. My dumb fan beat that thing in like 5 seconds. You're not that fast. Also, you lied about why you were after these herbs, and you're hiding how much you know my bike lizard, so don't be surprised if my fanfic says you're dishonest about this too. Glitch alert, Arven vanishes. Arven was also part of a glitch that could either be weird or potentially game-breaking towards the end of the Path of Titans. When Arven's parent invites you to Area 0, Arven demands a battle to prove you're ready for it. If you start a battle with a wild Pokemon here, Arven will fade from existence, leaving only Mabastiff. Some players reported a worse version of this glitch where they battled with Arven, lost, and then came back later to find only Mabastiff waiting there. Either way, I will be turning Arven's vanishing into a major plot point. I will probably leave Mabastiff alone, though. The poor puppy's been through enough. I'll be using one more logic fail for this chapter. Can I cross water or not? So this last fail was also a bit of a me fail. When traveling the Path of Titans, it's not always clear which areas the bike lizard can access before it gets all its power-ups. It doesn't help that the thing can swim through a pool from the get-go, but it will panic and leap back if it dips its ankles in a stream. So I spent an absurd amount of time trying to jump what looked to be a jumpable section of water when it turned out there was a bridge farther down. I'm so sorry, Juliana, but fanfic you will be making the same mistake. Alrighty, time to take these fails and turn them into our next fanfic chapter. I'm going to go ahead and give this chapter the super creative title of The Open Sky Titan. Here we go. Arven has been watching Juliana from a distance for the better part of an hour. And no, he assures himself he is not being creepy. She said this morning she'll be taking this road through the Area 1 West Province. And so, of course, she must be helping him take down the Open Sky Titan today. What else can she do out here? Fight random trainer battles? Chat it up with the Team Star knuckleheads down the road? No way. If she's going to be nice enough to help him collect the Herba Mystica, the least he can do is wait here until she arrives. He leans against the mountainside, his large pack resting on the ground beside him as he waits for her. The girl isn't hard to miss. A fluffy yellow hat sits atop her layered black hair. She also sports pink glasses, matching blue gloves and hiking boots, along with neon green leggings, all of which contrast horribly with the school's standard orange uniform. It's like the uniform is the only article of clothing she will ever be allowed to wear, and she is determined to make it look as wacky as possible on principle. The path is long and curved, but easy to follow, and Juliana should have reached him within 10 minutes, tops. Instead, she has spent the last, Arven glances at his watch, 40 minutes trying to get Koraidon to jump the river. Koraidon fails over and over again, leaving Juliana to pull herself out of the water and ride the brute to where the water looks narrower. It does not help, and Arven is getting cold and shivery just by watching her. She knows there's a bridge here, right? He thinks as he strokes Mabastiff's Pokeball. Doubt creeps into his mind about his choice of ally. Then again, there is that whole thing about beggars and choosers. No one else at school will give him the time of day. An attitude he is sadly used to, but that doesn't mean he likes it. If Juliana's antics seem like they will put Mabastiff in more danger than help him. Arven glances down at his hand, opening and closing it experimentally, etching the sensation in his mind.
Juliana's a kind person. I've seen that so far, and I need a backup plan. Like it or not, she might be Mabastiff's only chance.
With that thought, he takes a deep, slow breath of the crisp morning air and returns Mabastiff's ball to his belt. About 5 minutes later, Juliana finally decides to cross the bridge, and Arven waves wildly to get her attention. His eyes widen when she gets close enough to return the greeting. Her clothes and even her long dark hair are completely dry.
Another weird event?
He thinks.
Or is this just a thing she does?
Then he realizes he still has his hand up in the air and drops it quickly. Juliana giggles.
You look like you're trying to answer one of Professor Time's questions.
I'm just glad to see you,
Arven says, his face growing hot. He pulls the heavy pack high on his shoulders.
You ready for this next Titan? It's been tossing rocks down the hillside here, so you need to be careful.
Actually, I have other plans.
Juliana is already looking down the flat path, the one that definitely does not lead to the Sky Titan.
See, I promised this Cassiopeia person I would help them take down Team Star.
But this is important, Arven says.
More like shouts, which Juliana clearly doesn't appreciate.
I think I get to choose what's important to me.
A scowl replaces her usual friendly smile, and her uncertain tone grows pointed.
The world is my oyster, remember?
I'm sorry,
Arven sputters, lowering his head in a deep bow. He doesn't have great footing, and with the heavy kitchenware stuffed bag, he almost topples forward. Probably not the best way to apologize. He straightens to regain his balance, letting a loose rock under his feet tumble down the path. Juliana, in spite of herself, covers a smirk with her hand. Arven takes a deep breath and makes a polite, less dramatic bow this time.
Please, this isn't just about cooking research. I'm really worried about...
His hand goes instinctively to his side.
Can I trust her yet? And if so, with how much?
About...
Juliana presses. Arven lowers his hand and shakes his head.
Help me get through this next Titan, and I promise I'll tell you everything.
She doesn't agree, but she doesn't turn away either. Arven watches with building tension as she glances between him and the road leading to Team Star's next space. With a sigh, she relents and takes a step up the hill. A pushover for a half-told story. Arven grins and lays out his plan. The ground beneath their feet rumbles slightly as the massive bombardier rolls boulder after boulder from its perch above. For now, the rocks fall harmlessly to the side. Once they get moving up the rocky slope, it will be a different story. Still, Arven is optimistic they'll get through to the next herb without much difficulty. He glances down at his hand one more time as Juliana runs up the path ahead of him. Arven waits until Juliana is almost at the peak of the hill before he starts to run up himself. It isn't his best idea. Where she and Koraidon got bumped and jostled and knocked down by one huge rolling rock after another, Arven scales the whole thing in a fraction of the time. He doesn't think Juliana will pay much attention. After all, she has a Titan Pokemon to deal with. Arven crests the peak of the hill just as Juliana's Tinkertuff takes a wild swing at the Titan with its hammer. Shards of ice crystallize on Bombardier's wingtips, and it struggles to keep itself aloft. Yep, Juliana's Tinkertuff knows Ice Hammer, because of course it does. Arven shivers, thinking of the terror this pink puffball's evolution will cause, when Juliana snaps him back to reality. Hard.
Okay, how did you get up here?
She demands.
I ran,
he says, hoping it will satisfy her. It doesn't.
Tinkertuff, use Ice Hammer again.
She commands, barely watching the battle. Her eyes are locked on him, and she isn't stepping down without an answer. Meanwhile, her pink wrecking machine of a Pokemon squeals with delight and takes another swing. The direct hit sends a cold chill across the wind, and Bombardier is forced to flee. It lands not far away, near a cave opening, and begins munching on something, a plant that glows and glimmers with powerful healing light. Adrenaline pumps through Arven's veins.
Herba Mystica!
He takes a step forward, only for Juliana to block his path.
There's no way you can run up that quick. You have a giant bag on your shoulders. And until a minute ago, that stupid bird has been throwing boulders left and right. What did you do? Run through them?
If I say yes, will you believe me? I can't explain it right now, he says.
Juliana stomps her foot. It might have looked childish on anyone else, but with Tinkertuff at her side, it is downright intimidating.
You literally said at the bottom of the mountain that you would explain everything.
If Arven has an attack stat, it's now dropped 6 levels.
I meant everything about the Herba Mystica, not...
A screech echoes across the rocky ground, and Bombardier flaps its now ice-free wings. Its black beady eyes fixate on the two humans foolish enough to enter its territory. Juliana crosses her arms.
Well?
Fine, Arven groans. I'll tell you. Everything, but only after we get in that cave and harvest the Herba Mystica. Agreed?
She smiles in an oddly similar way to Tinkatuff. Her bright pink glasses only add to the spine-chilling effect.
Agreed.
Not even ancient magic-imbued herbs can give Bombardier an edge over Juliana. Arven isn't quite sure why he brings his knackly out, but he has to feel like he's contributing something. Once inside the cave, he approaches the Herba Mystica with an entranced awe. Then Juliana elbows him, and he quickly flips through his notes. This is the bitter-flavored one. Not the best setup for a tasty meal, but he can make do. He knows the way to prepare it so Mabosstiff will like it. He just has to remember to make extra this time. No doubt that brood of Juliana's will want more than its fair share again. Juliana, for her part, doesn't push him for answers immediately, and instead begins setting up the picnic table. Arven waves for her attention.
Hang on, Toadstool and Scavillain can handle that, he says. I need you over here.
He motions towards his makeshift countertop, which really just amounts to a rock slab with an extra tablecloth thrown over it. He usually grabs ingredients straight from his pack, knowing by feel how much he needs. But since he is aiming for a demonstration this time, or maybe a lesson is the better word for it, he sets all the ingredients out so Juliana can easily see them. The horseradish jar and the jam jar look oddly similar, and he rotates them so the labels are clear as she approaches.
What's all this?
Juliana asks.
I thought you were a sandwich expert. Now you need my help all of a sudden?
Arven fights back his first instinct, which is to snap that his sandwich skills will put even Katie's finest baked goods to shame. Then he remembers he actually does need help.
I just want to make sure someone else besides me knows how to make these. My Pokemon needs them.
He releases Mabosstiff from its Pokeball and tells Juliana the whole story. About the injury no Pokemon Center can heal. He keeps it quick and avoids her gaze as much as he can. He hates feeling so weak and vulnerable like this. He's grown up taking care of himself. It feels like he can do better than relying on a near stranger, but life loves to prove how little it cares about his feelings. At least the atmosphere is nice for his confession. The soft glow of the herbs lights up the place, and their sharp aroma overrides any damp or mossy smells the cave otherwise has. When Arven finishes his story, Juliana's eyes are shimmering with held-back tears.
Great,
Arven thinks.
I just told a literal sob story.
Juliana sucks in a deep breath and rubs her eyes.
All this talk about your Pokemon, but what's wrong with you?
Huh?
You said you want to make sure someone else besides you can make the sandwiches Mabosstiff likes. What makes you think you won't be able to prep them yourself?
Arven swallows hard and looks down at his hand. Probably better to demonstrate this answer than explain it. There's no more stalling, no more excuses. He flexes his fingers, focuses, and thrusts his hand toward the rock slab. It glides harmlessly through like a ghost's.
This,
he says simply, before pulling his hand back out again. Juliana's eyes go wide, though she doesn't freak out like he expected. Maybe she's witnessed something like this around school too? Arven lays his hand on a bread roll, confirming he can touch solid objects again, and turns it sideways.
Now, the trick to slicing the bread is...
Whoa, don't change the subject like that!
Juliana snaps at him, her voice probably louder than intended in the cave's close quarters. She lowers her head a bit, and her voice follows suit.
So you did get up the mountain by running through boulders?
Yeah, he says. It always happens when I get scared, so I figure I might as well use it to my advantage there. But sometimes it happens when I don't mean for it to at all, and those times have been getting more and more frequent.
He slices open the bread, not bothering to explain himself, and begins laying slices of cheese diagonally across the center. His voice cracks a bit as he continues.
Honestly, I'm a little scared. I don't know why it's happening. Unlike Mabosstiff and that brood of yours, the first Herba Mystica didn't help me.
He moves from the cheese to the prosciutto, folding each slice neatly before placing it. The awkward silence becomes intolerable, and he forces a pathetic-sounding laugh.
My worst fear is that it'll go off when I've challenged someone to a battle, only I won't notice and I'll look like an idiot who can't even throw a Pokeball.
Is that why you slap your face before you send out your Pokemon?
Juliana asks.
To make sure you're not passing through something again?
His cheeks grow hot once more.
I thought it looked like I was getting pumped up.
No, she giggles.
You looked kind of ridiculous.
He should be insulted, but Juliana's blunt honesty has shattered the tension. He can't help but be grateful there. He talks her through the rest of the sandwich instructions, taking extra care to make sure she gets the balance of horseradish correct. Mastiff loves spicy foods, but in its weakened state, it can't handle as much as it used to, so the measurement has to be perfect and the condiments spread evenly. Juliana listens and follows each step with focus and care. Her skills need work, but there's time for her to learn. And in the meantime, Coridon will never refuse an extra goof-up sandwich. As Arven expects, the Herba Mystica works its magic, and Mastiff's eyes light up for the first time in months. Tears roll down Arven's cheeks at the sight of it. As long as he exists in this world, he'll never give up hope. The trick for now is to just keep existing. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. For now, the every other week schedule is going to be about as frequently as I can do these, so I will see everyone again in 2 weeks. Also, a super awesome thanks to Styx Studios for providing the voice of Juliana and this super